Hi, Gemini, Sun and Rising. Welcome to your January 2025 Astro Update. It's Rena here. So, I just want to let you know that I'm recording this in December, and I may talk about December events in the future tense because of this. As a matter of fact, one of the things I want to talk about is your ruler, Mercury. Your ruler, Mercury, went retrograde in late November, and in December, it is retrograde until the 15th of December, and then it's still in a shadow period after that post retrograde shadow period. And on the 3rd of January, Mercury finally comes out of its shadow. So if you have been feeling like things are a bit imbalanced or out of sorts, because this is your ruler, you may find that things are back up to speed for you. This is going to be true for everyone, that once the 3rd hits, that they can progress in whatever area that Mercury went retrograde in. For Gemini people, this is going to be the 7th house of committed partnership. I do want to say too that this is a general forecast, so for some people, this may not be in that house. Maybe it's in your 6th house that it goes direct. I can't say for sure. But I'm trying to remember. I think it is going direct at 9 degrees of Sag. I'm not quite sure. But anyway, it's going direct on the 3rd, and in the house of relationships, this is the 7th house is also the house of legal matters. So that could be something where things get sorted out. Sometimes Mercury can be paperwork, documents that you have to sign or something along those lines. So just letting you know about that. But I want to mention something the day before on the 2nd. Venus goes into Pisces, into your 10th house of career. That's really good. And that's good for a couple of reasons. First of all, Venus can be about money, so this could be a time when you're more likely to get a raise. So that's definitely a positive. But it's also, Venus can give you some sort of, because this is like your public reputation. And also, the 10th house are people in positions of authority. So both of these areas could get like a facelift, or you can have this kind of charming aura that makes people want to help you, who have the ability to help you. Or, maybe people that you're dealing with or who see you in your power, that they find you irresistible in some way. So that is very positive. There's harmony in career matters. In other words, things flow more than usual, and that's always a great thing. On the 6th, Mars goes back into Cancer, and so Cancer is a sign right before you. So Gemini people are having Mars in 2 houses. I'm sorry, it's going back into your 2nd house from the 3rd house. And what this can be about is anything to do with the way in which you make money. And can be a thing that you are kind of rethinking. Mars is the way you do things. And when it's retrograding, it actually may be, you might be feeling like you can't make money for some reason. Now, remember that all of this is temporary, even though it is, these transits are lasting. Mars is coming out of its shadow in early May. So it is quite a period of time for Mars to be in your 2nd or 3rd houses. But when Mars goes direct, in late February, at least it's going to be in forward motion. So it's going to gain momentum at that point. But for the next, how many weeks would I say? 7 weeks? Because it's going to be, I think it's going to be like the 23rd or 24th of March, or of February, when Mars goes direct at 17 degrees of Cancer. So if you find that there is some kind of thing, like let's say somebody gets laid off, understand that it's just temporary. And that means that you don't have to generate the same amount of negativity or fear, fear or anger or whatever it is, because Mars, when it's retrograding, can be that covert hostility, that resentment, and that can poison the well. That can create more negativity that doesn't need to be there, or fear. Fear is a big one too. And I just want to say that when it's in your third house, there could be some issues with siblings. There could be some issues with, definitely with a sign like Gemini. You rule the third house in astrology. So if you have had any kind of like issue with your mouth getting you in trouble, this is a time to look at how your self-esteem is. If it's really good enough, if you need to build up your self-esteem, because the second house can be your net worth or your self-worth. And if you have a tendency to kind of cut people down verbally, maybe you use humor, like it's kind of sarcastic, that can be something that is going to work against you. I mean, it's not good at any time, but at this time in particular. And that can be something that you need to deal with on your own. Who knows? Maybe gossiping affected your work environment. These kinds of things that are the shadow side of Gemini. So just keep that in mind, because that might be one of it. But anything that has to do with money, don't get too freaked out about it. I mean, who knows? Maybe it won't affect you financially at all. But in case it does, I just want to say that you have to realize that it's a very short-lived thing. It's kind of like when Mercury goes retrograde. These are both personal planets, and it can feel like forever, even a few weeks, but it's not, forever. And in the meantime, there might be something that you can redo that can help you with money, because actually when Mars is in the third house, and when these planets go direct, or when Mars goes direct in these signs, you may decide, I need to tweak my website. You can even do it now, though, even when it's retrograde. You can start redoing a website if you work remotely, or build something up, maybe, that you launch at a later date. And so then on the 8th, Mercury goes into Capricorn. So this is your 8th house. And this is looking at the area of other people's money. So Cancer is your second house. That's your money. These kinds of things, sometimes they can be a little bit, I would say, interchangeable, just a little bit, because sometimes you might be gifted with money and it'll show up in your second house, as your second house, rather than your 8th house. So this can be a time of really looking into maybe if you have your spouse, like what is going on, maybe you're putting mental energy into that, but this could even be like some kind of a document that you have to sign, that kind of thing. And now you'll see that Mercury starts to gain speed. It's going to go into Aquarius like in a couple of weeks. It's just amazing. it's also a great time to dive deep and go beneath the surface in terms of what's going on with you internally, because the eighth house, that's Scorpio's domain, and there can be some kind of thing that comes up for you where you need to be focused on your thoughts that might be quite negative. Everybody has like areas where they might be a little bit cynical or a little bit on the negative side, and they need to like kind of like do like personal inquiry to decide why it is that they think like this, and it can get kind of deep, and you can see that you react to certain things because maybe this programming from childhood or what have you, and it's so deeply embedded within you that you think it's originating from you when it's not. Somebody else's fears that they projected onto you. That's what the shadows are all about. But really, to tell you the truth, I think it's more like when I think of shadow, the shadow self, I think of the kind of emotions that we have that we don't want other people to know that we have, and we don't even want to acknowledge them. And Gemini is one of those signs that I think would really fall into this category, because you like to keep things light and airy, and you don't really like deep emotions. Some of you may have the moon in Pisces, for instance, and you may enjoy that side of life, but even then, you may try to joke your way out of it. You might try to like alleviate it that way, because ultimately our sun sign is the main influence, and so our moon sign isn't something that we necessarily want to embrace full on all the time. But anyway, on the 13th, we have a full moon at 24 degrees of Cancer in your second house of earned income, and it will be in conjunction with Mars retrograding. I would say be careful about any kind of impulse buying, but it's not necessarily impulse buying. Like if there's somebody in your life who is, telling you a sob story, and it really grabs you by the emotions, and then you impulsively give them money only to find out that they were lying, distorting, whatever, that could be an example of that, because Cancer is very nurturing and sympathetic. So when we have a full moon in Cancer, it is normal to feel very emotional and to feel very nurturing, but then you add Mars to the mix, and it could be like, doing it without even thinking about it. And I'm not saying that, you shouldn't help somebody at this time at all. It could be something worthy of you helping them. I'm just saying be careful about being impulsive, because your emotions could be caught up in it. And, but it might be something that you impulsively do to make, like maybe this is something that you used to do, like for money, and it just works really well. And it's like it works even better than you thought it was going to work, because you had the idea to do it again. Because when we have the retrograde, it's like going over something. So it could be like you do it again. And the moon just makes it blow up, or just makes it more fertile for that time. And also there's an immediacy with Mars. So it's really the case that if something works really quickly, like you have success really quickly, it's such a motivator. It's really difficult to not see a result right away and to just plug away at it. It's not impossible, but it's not easy either. On the 19th, I want you to really pay attention to this date. This is when the sun goes into Aquarius, and it's not so big on that level, even though it is a fellow air sign, so it is nice that it's something that is trining you. But it's also, you have Pluto in Aquarius at 1 degree, so it's forming a conjunction with Pluto, so it's really, even more powerful. And for you, this is your ninth house. So this could be something where, I'm trying to think of like the different possibilities. I'm sure I've done a video on the transit of Pluto in the ninth house. I'm going to have to double check that. And how it, it affects you for the next 20 years, actually, not just right now. But I would say one of the big things, if you, I'll put it this way, if you get some kind of like promotion, or it would even be like, maybe it would even be like just if you're in the field of academia and you get your first job or you get some kind of a plum assignment, maybe that is a springboard to bigger and better things. Because, okay, so the sun is there on the 19th, your ruler Mercury is there on the 27th, and then you have on the 29th the new moon here at 9 degrees of Aquarius. So 9 is more of a number of the light worker, so maybe it's something to do with being a healer. This would be, I would say, I always use the example of the yoga teacher. But it could be academia, I suppose. It can be anything. And you can feel very positive about it because this is Sagittarius's domain, and it's very expansive and uplifting. And because Mercury is here, it could be even like studying abroad or teaching abroad, maybe as a traveling professor, because the ninth house is long distance travel. What's really interesting is the very next day, the 30th, Uranus turns direct at 23 degrees of Taurus, and Taurus is your 12th house. The 12th house has a connection to Jupiter because Neptune rules the 12th, and Neptune is the ruler of Pisces, and Jupiter is the ancient ruler of Pisces. So some of the themes of the ninth house are also present in the 12th house and can include foreigners, foreign travel, and connections with that. And going back to Mercury in the ninth, that can be good for, studying a foreign language. So, it could be like language immersion. Certainly with Pluto, there might be like an obsession with some kind of foreign country where you just want to like absorb it like completely. You want to immerse yourself in it completely, not just a shallow thing where you go for a semester or something like that, but you just, the person who just moves somewhere and they just want to learn everything about that country. And actually, in terms of learning a language, that is probably the best way to do it. I don't know how some of these people on YouTube, how they have such a command of the English language and it's not their first language, and I don't even know how they practice it, because I've had clients from all over the world and they speak, they write, emails to me, and it's really amazing. From all over the world. And I was just watching somebody, I'm subscribed to somebody on YouTube who's from Russia. I've I've had Russian neighbors, who tried to teach me Russian. And the alphabet alone just like completely floored me. I couldn't even get past that. or actually they were trying to get me to teach them English, but it was frustrating because their language is so different than um, like a romance language where you can see there's like certain words that are so similar to English that it's not hard to figure things out, or it's a lot easier, let's put it that way. When you have a completely different alphabet, that alone is very intimidating. But people do it all the time, and it's like I'm so impressed, and they're not always like immersing themselves in another country. But that certainly would be one of the best ways to do it. So that might be what's going on. And Uranus is also about technology. So when it's in the 12th house, it could be that you're studying something spiritual that is technologically based. Like you're doing some kind of course that doesn't involve having to actually sit in a classroom or be in a physical space, but you can do it online, some kind of an online thing. And that can be very helpful for people who have other things going on but they really want to get some kind of certification. And so there might be some connection to, I think there might be with the ninth house, it might be like yoga, or it might be maybe energy healing, something along those lines. Reading the Akashic records, that could definitely be 12th house because that's about past lives. So I could see that. Okay, Gemini. Yeah, that's what I have for you. I hope that you enjoyed this. If you'd like a private reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.